Okay, welcome to our latest edition of Think and Grow Rich Mastermind. I'm assuming everybody's good to go. I think we're live. Hope we are. I always question this. It says that we are live streaming, so perfect. Okay, so I'm going to assume that's correct. Now, anyways, I'm here with my cohorts. We're missing one. Walter's not going to be with us today, but I'm here with Mr. Eric Keys and Karen Gatrinig. Excuse me. So anyways, we're talking about autosuggestion. Now, this is I think it's a really important topic and a good lesson because, I think one of the things most people don't realize is that we're doing it to ourselves all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Even a lot of times, even when we're sleeping, we're actually telling ourselves things. So this is a really important thing. Like we've been talking about burning desire and having faith, and this is how we get ourselves emotionally connected to what it is we want. So before I start, I was going to read a little bit of what Napoleon Hill wrote here. But is there anybody want to add anything to get us started, or should I just start to
kick it off, man? Kick it off.
Kick it off. Okay. So anyways, anybody might be following us. Hang on a second here. Let me. Okay, so if there is anybody out there, feel free to say hello. Now, the other thing too, like I wasn't sure if people have copies of Think and Grow Rich, and any one of us could provide that to you if you want to reach out and say hello. And of course, if you are here, say hello so that we know you're here.
Going on, Vanetta?
What's that? Sorry.
I was speaking. I see somebody on your live. I got it up on my phone.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. Okay, so anyways, let's get back to this is the third step towards riches, and again, autosuggestion. This is basically, as Napoleon Hill says here, is the medium for influencing the subconscious mind, which is incredibly important because your subconscious mind kind of dictates how you feel about things, and it's going to dictate how you take action towards the things you want, or in a lot of cases, it dictates how you don't take action towards a lot of things. And he does talk about that here. So he says autosuggestion is a term which applies to all suggestions and all self-administered stimuli, which reach one's mind through the five senses. Stated another way, autosuggestion is self-suggestion. It's the agency of communication between the part of the mind where conscious thought takes place and that which serves as a seat of action for the subconscious mind. So he's talking already here, and we're going to get into it more. He's talking about there's two parts of the mind, and it's important to understand that because, again, we have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. Now, he goes on to say here, through the dominating thoughts which one permits to remain in the conscious mind, whether these thoughts be negative or positive, is immaterial. The principle of autosuggestion voluntarily reaches the subconscious mind and influences it with these thoughts. So something to keep in mind here too is that it's not just the words you say to yourself, it's the words that other people say to you that you allow to reach your subconscious. If you're just simply letting it in without questioning it, it starts to become your truth. That's why, I've mentioned before that, you got to be careful with watching media because, they're telling you things on purpose for whatever the reasons are. It doesn't really matter what they are, but understand that if you can filter that out in some ways and really understand that you can't just let it in, then you start to realize that you can control how you feel about things. You can control how you start to see the world. And it's important to, even good example of this even is like if you think about commercials, like you think of, like Coca-Cola, for example. Everybody in the world knows who Coca-Cola is. So why do they keep putting commercials out? Like, why do they keep doing that? It's because they're suggesting to you that you need a Coca-Cola.
Yep.
Right? That's what all it is. And, if you're not thinking about it, you subconsciously, if you're having emotion for Coca-Cola, which a lot of people do, I have a bad tendency to like Diet Pepsi, which I don't need a commercial to tell me that. I just automatically want one, right? But I've been conditioned, somewhere along the lines through autosuggestion, I was conditioned to want a Diet Pepsi. And I know it's not good for me, but you know what? The autosuggestion that it's not good for me hasn't stuck. Right? The power over liking the Diet Pepsi is much stronger than that of thinking that it's not healthy, that type of thing. So he says here that no thought, whether it be negative or positive, can enter the subconscious mind without the aid of the principle of autosuggestion, with the exception of thoughts picked up from the ether. Stated differently, all sense impressions which are perceived through the five senses are stopped by the conscious thinking mind and may be either passed on to the subconscious mind or rejected at will. The conscious faculties serve, therefore, as an outer guard to the approach of the subconscious mind. That's important to understand, is you can reject anything that's coming to you. The sad part is we don't. That's why we have a tendency to kind of live the lives of everybody around us. Like the people that you hang around with the most, you're going to find that you're living basically their life, their same life, because again, it's through that autosuggestion, that constant repetition of that information is causing you to act in a manner that's similar to what you've been basically allowing in. So he goes on to say, nature has so built man that he has absolute control of the material which reaches his subconscious mind through his five senses. Although this is not meant to be construed as a statement that man always exercises this control, and that's important because we don't. In the great majority of instances, he does not exercise it, which explains why so many people go through life in poverty. Right? And you think about that's, we've talked about this before. If you grow up in an environment where money is tight, where there's always a struggle to pay the rent or the mortgage payment, that through your senses, whether you're being told this on a regular basis, just the senses and picking up from your environment, you are actually allowing this in. And therefore, when you go into life and, if you grew up in a household where maybe things were a bit of a struggle, you're going to take that with you going forward because you've been conditioned now. And that's what autosuggestion is. So what he's getting at here is that number one, we have to block ourselves from allowing this information in. And then on top of that, we're going to cover a few exercises and some more understanding of what's going on here, that we can now reprogram ourselves through autosuggestion. And so I like here too, where he says autosuggestion is the agency of control through which an individual may voluntarily feed his subconscious mind on thoughts of a creative nature. Now, or by neglect, he goes on to say, permit thoughts of destructive nature to find their way into this rich garden of the mind. Now, I was thinking of that. Something I learned from Bob Proctor was, how the mind actually works. And, he learned from a mentor of his. I learned from him. He learned from mentors his. But there's actually an idea that was created a long time ago by Dr. Thurman Fleet. It was actually 1934, I believe. And he created the stick person concept, which I think is fantastic. And I just thought that, before I actually maybe show that to everyone, is there some thoughts of what we just mentioned about? Can you think of some ideas that, where autosuggestion has caused you to, number one, move in the direction you want, or has it also maybe left you, wondering why you're not getting the results that you want? Like he does talk about, if you neglect things, then you could end up with, basically living in poverty if you're not taking control of these things. Can anybody have any examples that maybe of other people or yourself that you might want to add just to show how that can have an effect?
Absolutely, man. I'll hop in. So yeah, for me personally, it was growing up. Growing up, I grew up in an environment where education was key, but it wasn't a necessity. And so, well, I won't say it wasn't a necessity, but it was for my grandfather, it was everything. For my father, it was about work. And so having those two clashing opinions really, it really could have affected me. And everybody who knows me, grew up around me, knows that I was known as the worker, a worker bee. The joke with among my friends was, what type of work are you going to be doing today, from plowing fields to picking cotton to whatever it was. And so I was going to be working, but from my grandfather's side of things, and he dropped out of high school. He dropped out of school in second grade, and he used to always say, school is everything. Like, you have to get an education to open doors. You have to have common sense to keep the doors, to stay inside. But again, to get the educational piece was just not necessary. It was big in my house, but it wasn't paramount. It wasn't like every single thing. For my father, for my mother, it was really big, and for my grandfather, it was everything. Because I spent a great deal of time around him, and my 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 respect level for him was so great that I always wanted to please him. So his power of autosuggestion was more powerful than even my parents, if you will, because he was so into get your education, get your education, get your education, grow, 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 grow. And that in turn, afforded me the opportunity to go to college, free of charge, pretty much, to really buckle down and accomplish some things that I never thought that I would be able to, i.e., getting a degree in engineering, all of those type things. But again, it was the constant, like every single day I was around him, it was always, you're smart, you're good, you can do it. And I was getting quite the opposite in my house. And so, that auto suggestion that he was pouring into me, coupled with the passion, because we talk about the passion, coupled with feelings and passion, the passion that I had for him and wanting to make sure I was pleasing him, coupled with you're good enough, you're smart enough, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. It took me to this next level as far as education goes. So yeah, it works for sure. I know it. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that, I'm in my house right now because of auto suggestion.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think the reality is we need to understand that everything in our life was conditioned into us through
Mhm.
auto suggestion. And what we're trying to help people understand here is that if you don't like something, then you can, through auto suggestion, start moving yourself towards what you want. Like, Karen's in a brand new home. This is her first call with us in her new house, and it's gotten dark there because it's she's 6 hours ahead, so it's after 9 o'clock there, and we can't see her beautiful backyard. But we could actually, like half an hour ago, we could see her beautiful backyard. So, is it safe to say, Karen, that through auto suggestion that you managed to find the new home, which you're into a place that is much more comfortable?
Absolutely. Yeah. And what you said, Eric, it's so beautiful when I hear these stories about you had the auto suggestion from your grandfather. You can do it, you can have it all. And that's what I had to deal with, is that I had exactly the opposite suggestion. Yeah, the rich people, oh, these are different people. Oh, money is beautiful and money is wonderful, but we are not a part of these people. The rich people are a separate part and they are special people. This is a special group and we are not a part of this. So, and I think that's a big part many people deal with, that they have all these negative suggestions, and they grew up with this information, and they were programmed to be, you can not have this, you don't deserve this, and oh, you are not a part of this rich people group. And I think most of the people struggle with these informations and with these programs. And I understand it, because I also act like these people. I know what the people go through, and I know that it's work to change it, but I also know it's possible. Everything is possible.
Yeah.
It's also 9 years ago I started a completely new life. You know, I left my marriage, I left my family, I came to another part of Austria. I started my own business. So this was unbelievable for most of the people. And what you said, Lee, it's so important, the environment you're living in, the people they surround you, the people you talk to every day, because these are all the informations, they go to the subconscious mind. You know, if you meet someone on the street and you say, hi, how are you doing? And most people think, okay, here is one person and I can tell him how bad I feel. Oh, how what hurts on my body, how bad is the government, and how expensive is everything. And they are so happy to talk about all the things they are not working. But so many people in such a little group, they talk really about what's working in their life.
Mhm.
And that's so, so important, that you have to focus on the things that work. Yeah, because we all know there's nothing you can be, do, or have. And it's so interesting, if you make the decision and you have the faith and you reprogram your mind with the auto suggestion, you can have, be, or do anything you want.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful. I think the most people don't understand how important it is to reprogram the subconscious mind, because the 5% in the conscious mind, they are not strong enough in opposite to the 95% of the subconscious mind.
Mhm.
And that's what autosuggestion does. And I think we have really, really a lot of work in front of us and before us to show people how they can change the subconscious mind. Because if you got this tool, it works. And that's the point. So all things, they help you to reprogram your subconscious mind with come to the right vibration in the theta, alpha, theta, delta frequency. So how can you get there? And yeah, like I told you the last time, this process is simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy, but it's done. You both of you, actually, including myself, all three of us can attest to the fact that it can be done.
It works. It
Like
works. That's for sure.
none of us are today living the life that we probably were programmed to live. I know I certainly, like, you were talking about, talking about rich people and things like that. I grew up where, the only way you could be rich is you had to be a crook. And of course,
Mhm.
well, nobody wants to be a crook, but, and the funny thing is there's times when I'm thinking, geez, I wish I was more of a crook, because then maybe I'd have more money. But then I wasn't conditioned to be a crook. So it's kind of, you can't win, can you? So, and it's not true. You don't need to be a crook to be rich. I know a lot of wealthy people, and they're the most wonderful people you're ever going to meet. And they would do anything to try to help you do the same thing. And that's the key. So, auto suggestion, like, something too that I think that's important is, if you're new to this, auto suggestion is also, affirmations. That's people say affirmations on a regular basis. I highly recommend it. In fact, I spend a lot of time helping people create affirmations. And it's the key is, like Carl was talking about alpha and beta states. And, when you really start to understand all of this, you start to understand when the best times to do it and things like that. Like, in the morning, in the evening, before bed, or as you're getting up, it's a lot of people will get up and, they get so busy with the day, they have their coffee, they're running out the door. But if you can just take a few minutes and just sit back and be quiet, try to let go of the world, and then again, use the term auto suggestion or use affirmations to keep feeding yourself with the information that you want. The beautiful thing about it is eventually you start to become that person. Like you've probably heard the term fake it till you make it. And you know what? That's kind of it. Like in the beginning, your subconscious mind is going to want to reject these suggestions. But it doesn't have any ability to reject. It must accept whatever you give it. It just puts up a bit of a fight. And eventually the fight goes away because now you reprogrammed yourself. And that's the whole beautiful thing about autosuggestion. Now, I thought about showing you the stick person, which again, bear with me if I screw this up. I'm sorry. Wouldn't be the first time. I think this is it. I'm going to try and share this. Okay, can we see that?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, this is something I learned, from Bob Proctor. It's a different image. This is my version of that same kind of an image. I just for some reason decided I wanted to change it. I never really loved the whole idea of the stick person. It kind of looked like a fat stick person, so it was. It's a stick person with a belly, right? So it just didn't. I don't know. But anyways, I learned it from Bob, and he learned it from a mentor of his, but it originated actually from a gentleman, Dr. Thurman Fleet, back in 1934. And he really tried to believe that we needed to understand how the mind actually works. So what I learned, again, from all of this was that, basically there's our mind and then our physical body. Now, the reason we made our mind bigger is because really, pretty much everything and anything, I shouldn't say pretty much everything goes on in your life originates from the mind. So the mind is really what's most important. And something also that was, I learned quite a while back was, a lot of people think of the mind as the brain, and it's not. See, the mind is in every cell of your body. It's your connection to this universe. It's the essence of you. The brain is a magnificent switching station. Your mind uses your brain to get you through these days, this physical world that we live in. And you're going to find too that your physical body does not actually do anything unless your mind tells it to. Right. So it's important to understand that. So again, the mind is a beautiful, powerful thing that the more you understand it, the more you're going to live the life that you really truly want. Now, the mind is divided into two different parts. Now, we've got the conscious mind, which is the top portion. Again, it could be any portion. We're just, for demonstration purposes, we're saying it's the top portion. And, if you think about it, a lot of the information kind of comes in from above through your physical senses, your intuition, lots of different ways. So it does kind of come from the top. But again, I don't think your conscious mind really necessarily is on the top and your subconscious on the bottom. But your conscious mind is the thinking mind. This is where you build those pictures. And this is kind of the gatekeeper as well to your subconscious mind. Now, it has the ability to say, no, we're not going to think about that. Or if you're not paying any attention, it just automatically thinks about whatever you're talking about. And then guess what? It gets impressed upon your subconscious mind, which is your emotional mind. Now, your emotional mind is the part of you that's going to basically cause you to act or behave in a certain way. It's where your habits are, right? So, Napoleon Hill is referring to dominating thoughts. Now, this could be, your burning desire. It could be anything that's going on in your life, anything you'd like to change or whatever. So whatever your dominating thoughts are, get impressed upon your subconscious mind. And this can be a positive thing or a negative thing. Again, it depends on what your dominating thoughts are. If you're focusing on negative thoughts, well, your subconscious mind is going to react in a manner that's going to be negative. Now, he goes on to talk about how it's important that mixing emotion and faith with your words, if you don't, you're not going to experience any desirable results. But something along that same lines is if you're also getting emotionally involved with something negative, then you're definitely not going to get desirable results. You're going to get the results that you don't actually want, right? So this is very important to understand. It's you have control over pretty much everything going on in your life. The sad part is that most people don't. They basically go through life wishing for a lot of things. And let me get rid of this stuff here. There we go. I'm not sure. They've got lots of comments on here, but I can't, unfortunately, it doesn't tell me who they are. It says Facebook user. But anyways, thanks for your comments. Keep them coming. But the idea is, again, whatever you're holding on a conscious level, it gets impressed upon your subconscious mind. And it's your subconscious mind that's going to cause you to act. It's going to cause you to feel certain ways. If you're depressed, it's because you've been accepting into your subconscious mind something negative. You get it all the time. People, they don't like something going on in their life. Maybe they can't pay their bills. Maybe their boyfriend or girlfriend left them, or something's going on in their life. And they focus consciously on all the negativity. Well, that gets impressed in your subconscious mind. And guess what? You're not going to get the results you're looking for. It's not going to happen. If you want to earn more money, you're going to have to program yourself. Like, we were just talking about how, like I mentioned that, I was taught that the only way you're going to be successful is you had to be a crook, which that's not a good thing to be trying to go through life, because you're never going to have much in your life. You're always going to be struggling, but you can change that. And you can do that through autosuggestion. And a good example, again, I mentioned Bob Proctor with understanding how the mind works there. And I always love the quote or the affirmation in regards to money. And that was, and I think I've said it before, but it's something I actually say it on a regular basis. I'm so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing amounts from multiple sources on a continuous basis. And there's another one too, like, again, autosuggestion, like, in this book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill does talk about money a lot. But there's nothing in here that can't be used for anything. And so one of the things too that, there's a lot of people that would like to, get to a better weight. So one of the things too that I learned from Bob was, number one is don't focus on how much you want to lose. And the reason being is because you're now talking to yourself about loss. And if you think about it, anything you want to lose or you lose in life, we automatically start to try to find it. Right. So the key here when you want to thinking about weight is you want to be focusing on your perfect weight. And I'm pretty sure I learned this from Bob, but I don't recall actually where I got it from. But it was another affirmation. This sounds like something Bob would say. But anyways, when it comes to perfect ways, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm my perfect weight. I'm looking good and I'm feeling great. And you keep saying that because, again, your subconscious knows what your perfect weight is. If you're not your perfect weight, it's because there's something programmed in there through autosuggestion that's causing you to act in a manner that's not going to keep you at your perfect weight. Like, the reality is, with a person that has a very good, clean mind subconsciously, the self-image and things like that, isn't going to overeat bad food, isn't going to undereat. They're not going to starve themselves trying to fit into a dress or a suit, because they're just going to be their natural weight, whatever their perfect image is of themselves, right? So this is really quite important that, again, when we're talking about autosuggestion is in understanding how the mind and the conscious mind work together, we can control pretty much anything going on in our world. The sad part is the majority of the people have no clue. They have no understanding at all. Like, we could have this conversation with an average person and they kind of look at you like you're insane. What are you talking about? Right. And it's fascinating too, if you think about it, like, think of how many people have read Think and Grow Rich. Millions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Probably tens of millions.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Now, I wonder what percentage of the people that have read Think and Grow Rich are actually rich. Very few.
Small
Right.
percentage for sure.
Right.
Yep.
And that's something he even talks about, if that's next year, but I'm trying to remember where it is, but he does talk about it. Oh, we'll get to it. I'll just carry on reading here. So he goes on and talks about the 6 steps described in chapter on desire, to read out aloud twice daily the written statement of your desire for money or whatever else is, and to see and feel yourself already in possession of that money. So you have to get emotionally involved, right? So by following these instructions, you communicate the object of your desire directly to your subconscious mind in the spirit of absolute faith. Through repetition of this procedure, you voluntarily create thought habits which are favorable to the efforts to transmute desire into its monetary equivalent. Or again, it could be about weight loss. It could be about relationships. It could be about all kinds of things. Now, this is what I was looking for here is the mere reading of these words is of no consequence unless you mix emotion or feeling with your words. If you repeat a million times over and over again, without making emotional and faith, without mixing emotion and faith with your words, you will experience no desirable results. Your subconscious mind recognizes and acts only upon only those thoughts which have been well mixed with emotion or feeling. So what I was getting at was, you got millions and millions of people that have read this book, but they're just reading it. They're not actually thinking about it. They're not actually sitting back and absorbing what they're being taught. When the answers to pretty much everything you can imagine are kind of in this book. Like if you really sat down and studied this book, you don't necessarily need to study another book. But it's just like anything else, like until you're conditioned to absorb the information, the chances are you probably need to be working with a mentor, or you need to be, working in like a group like this where you're having discussions and masterminding ideas. This is where the understanding and the awareness is going to come from. So it's important to understand it because one of the things that I remember when the Secret came out. Everybody was all excited about The Secret. Everybody was running and making their vision boards and doing all this kind of stuff, which, you know what? Fantastic. But one of the things that I think was left out, they did talk about it, but was left out was the fact that you have to act. Right? Because, it's one thing to have a vision board. You're attracting to you exactly what you want, but you're not going to bring it into your physical world unless you take some kind of action. Now, it's your subconscious mind that causes you to act, right? It's your subconscious mind that moves you in a direction of the things you want. So it goes back again, is you can't just simply keep reading this. You have to really think about it. You have to absorb this information and get emotionally involved with it, right? So is there something else here? Like the key again is, I got notes all over the place here. So yeah, like this is actually something that Karin was actually talking about was, understand it's going to take time. Like, the old tradition,
absolutely.
right? The old tradition.
Knowing and understanding are two different things. Absolutely. And that's my experience. I know it from myself. But what's so interesting when we talk about the subconscious mind, I think so less people know that their thoughts are the language of the mind, and the emotions are the language of the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about illness? What about if your body gets sick? That's all what's programmed in your subconscious mind. Yeah, feelings. We feel the feelings in the body, and that's what's programmed in the subconscious mind. So what you think on your conscious level, on your conscious mind, that makes you the feeling. This goes to the subconscious mind, and this creates the negative feelings, and that's what expresses the body. How could we think about if we think in the right direction or not, if our body wouldn't tell us? Because if we feel good, then we have the same perspective like source, like the universe. Then we feel great, then we feel good, then we are happy. So we feel it in the body, and the subconscious mind expresses the feelings in our bodies. So we know it exactly. So this is the guidance system. If you feel good, you have the same perspective like source. If you don't feel good, you have some program running automatically on autopilot, and the body shows you. And if you practice this for a long time, then you get some things like cancer or high blood pressure or a pain wherever you can think about it or you don't want to think about it. And that's so important that the people understand it. This is such a clear sign from source. And actually, I think it's so easy. If something feels good, go on. And
Yeah.
if something doesn't feel good, stop it.
That's good advice. Right? Yeah. I know, like, you're just what you're talking about. Like I just heard of I don't actually really know her. I just kind of know her from where I was living, and she's a fitness trainer and a health nut, and been posting all kinds of things on Facebook of what to eat and what not to eat and all this kind of stuff. And she can't be any more than maybe 45 years old. And she just announced that her body's riddled with cancer.
Wow.
And,
Wow.
so obviously there's something going on subconsciously that's putting her in a
Yeah.
state of unease. And when you're in a state of unease, it leads to physical disease. And that disease then usually ends up in what we refer to as disintegration, which means you're dying.
Mhm.
And that's kind of sad. Like, I went through a health issue, and I realized that, myself, I was holding on to some things that, I've been able to release since. So now I'm going to live to be about 150, I believe, something along that line. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to be around for a long time, whether you like it or not. But, exactly what Karin's saying there is that's exactly true. Like, if you're not healthy, like, you actually work in a hospital, don't you, Karin? Like that, right? Partly, part-time, right? She likes
Part-time,
helping,
yeah.
she likes helping people, so she goes and works with that. But you got to figure everybody there doesn't necessarily have to be there. There are some things that we get programmed genetically, but mostly environmentally. So a lot of the reasons people are there is because of the environment. Now, you get a small child that is has a disease that came genetically, that was passed on from someone else who was holding on to a lot of stuff. So it's genetic, right? So what about you, Eric? You got something you want to add to that, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's again, it all boils down to internally versus externally, and a lot of us, before we really start to study who we are and the power that we have within us, we think that it's always some outside external force that's acting upon us. Oh, I can't get in a good relationship because my dad didn't treat me right, or this or that or whatever. But the reality is that you have what has been your environment for so long has been pressed into your subconscious mind, and now the individual has to overcome that. Lee and I were talking a little bit earlier, and I was like, it's just like their twins who were interviewed. And when they interviewed them, they said, one was uber successful and the other one was an alcoholic. When they asked them, why, they asked the alcoholic twin, why are you an alcoholic? He said, because my dad was an alcoholic. And so, then they asked the uber successful twin, why are you uber successful? He says, because my dad was an alcoholic. It was all about their own perspective and their own work on themselves, and how they truly work on their subconscious mind to make the change. Obviously, the uber successful one, he saw completely different for himself and acted upon. He took action. That's the big thing. Taking action, man. I have seen so many people do vision boards, say affirmations. I'm guilty of it myself. You do all of these things and you expect all of these different results, but it's all about the emotional tie within you, getting emotionally involved with it, and knowing and believing. It's the belief. The belief is the key.
Yeah, absolutely.
Once you believe that you'll be different,
faith.
that's it.
Yeah.
It changes it. I mean, everything changes for you. When I first met Lee, man, I was damn near homeless and struggling mentally, and just kind of just in a tailspin. But again, I had to do the work. I mean, how many people have met him? Probably millions, right, around the world. But a lot of people met him, but who actually did the work? No one can do the work for me to get to the place where, we're living in our house. I have the business of my dreams. I'm moving into coaching, which is even another dream that I have. Now I'm doing some motivational speaking. And so it's all of the things are coming to fruition, but it has to start inside first, and you have to do the work, the affirmations, the believing in yourself, the exact steps. I mean, this book is literally a blueprint for how to change your life, period.
Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah,
but you have to
absolutely.
just step into it and just wholeheartedly step into it and do the work. And I mean, it's like the law of gravity. You know, you pick something up, you drop it, you know without a shadow of doubt that it's going to fall to the ground.
Mhm.
If you do the work in this book, it's the law of attraction, it's the law of vibration. It is going to happen. Period. It must happen.
Yeah.
Again, but you know,
All
like
about understanding and awareness. You have to understand what's actually happening and become aware of it happening in you. Like, you know, something you were just talking about with the twins, you know, one actually became an alcoholic. Well, that person became an alcoholic through autosuggestion.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that was constantly being fed that this is how you deal with things in life. Whereas the other one through autosuggestion was saying, I don't want that life. I'm going to live this life. Right.
Yeah.
So it's basically the same thing. So that's why even Napoleon Hill talks about you have to be careful what it is that you're allowing in, because it's going to stick, right? The more and more. Right? So
Yeah, and changing the vibration, I think that's a very important part of a mentor.
Yeah.
You said, Lee, the power of a mentor, and you have this blog, and this is so true, because what we often say and what we talk about and what we believe and our perspective, we don't recognize, we are not aware what we are talking. And that's what I experienced with working with Lee, when he said, did you listen what you just said? What you said, they're gonna tell you a different story. That's not true. And then I thought, okay, yeah, this is true. And this is the power of a mentor, because you need somebody from outside. Everybody who looks at your situation has a different perspective, and that's what we have to do. That's our work, to tell the people, listen to the story what you tell yourself, listen to the words you use. Are you really sure? So this is really powerful. Yeah. And changing the perspective uh brings a change in the vibration. And with every single change, you come to another level. And every change is one change to this vibration where you are the match for your goal. So every single change in the perspective, in a change in the vibration, can be the change to the manifestation.
absolutely. Yeah, that
Powerful.
vibration is that's what goes out into the universe. And whatever you're putting out is going to come back. And that's where, he's talking about being emotionally involved. Like, it's one thing to keep telling yourself these things, but if you're not emotionally involved, that vibration isn't changing. And it's by putting that out there, that's the law of attraction. It's the law of vibration and attraction. And then goes back to, what Eric was talking about too, where you have to take action. Because that was, this terrible universe of ours makes us actually work. It'll give you anything and everything you could ever imagine, but only if you act. Like, we've had conversations about people, won the lottery. I know of a specific person, not a friend of mine, but I know the guy that bought his house. But this guy won $1 million on the lottery, and 2 years later, he was flat broke, and his house was up for power sale. So, again, like, can you attract this in? Yes, but he wasn't conditioned to be a millionaire and had no understanding. And the sad part is, he could have been set for life, but instead, 2 years later, he's probably in worse shape than he was when he started. And again, that goes back to how we've been conditioned. So we can change that. He was, grew up in an environment where that auto-suggestion was that you're not allowed to be wealthy. You're not supposed to, you're supposed to struggle, right? So all this money, he really had zero concept of what it really meant, and therefore got rid of it. Like, because, it does run out, which I think some people don't realize that unless the money keeps flowing in, eventually there's nothing left, right? So, but anyways, so it's sad though, like that, he lost that house, but then it's also, the guy that I know that bought the house, bought it and renovated it and made a lot of money. So, but that's a different person with a different set of conditioning, right? He was saying things to himself through auto suggestion and the repetition of affirmation and things that he was going to be successful. And he was. He found the house. Like, I only know about the story because this person that I was working with found the house and then told me about the story. And then, wow, what a complete difference. You know, like, again, like that, I think it goes back to, you know, what we've been saying here is like the fellow who lost the house. You know, even if he read this book, very likely that he wouldn't have been able to understand it. You know, I think we all talked about how even the very first time we read the book that we didn't really quite get it. Like it was, I started to learn more about it when, you know, working with Bob and Bob Proctor taught me about it. So it's fascinating. And again, the autosuggestion, I do it all the time. Like I've got stuff plastered everywhere. Every time I go into my bathroom, I got a whole thing of affirmations. I got them next to my bed. I even go for walks and I listen to me talking to me as I'm walking, right? It's, you know, I got some kind of meditative music I put on the bottom and me on the top of it. And I go for walks. I walk for like an hour, and the entire hour I'm listening to me saying affirmations. That's autosuggestion. And it's fascinating that when I come back from the work, it's amazing how many new ideas I have. You know, I can't wait to get on my computer and start changing this and work on this and doing that and doing this. And like, it's, you know, you guys know me. I probably spend 12 hours a day doing this. Like I don't stop doing it because I can't stop doing it. I'm conditioned to keep moving forward. And that's what we want, you know, the people that are joining us here, we want them to understand that your life can be anything you want it to be. And this is a big part of it. You know, first off, we're talking about you have to have that burning desire. And then you have to have faith that it's going to happen. You have to expect it. And then how do you get yourself conditioned to move towards it? That's through autosuggestion. I'm just going to read some more of what Napoleon Hill said. Let's see. Wisdom and cleverness alone will not attract and retain money except in a few very rare instances, where the law of averages favors the attraction of money through these sources. The method of attracting money described here does not depend upon the law of averages. Moreover, the method plays no favorites. It will work for one person as effectively as it will for another. Where failure is experienced, it is the individual, not the method, which has failed. That's another thing. People don't want to accept responsibility, and that's the key. You know, you cause everything in your life, whether you want to accept that or not. In fact, Cara and I will be talking about that next week because our new show, Abundance Tuning, we talk about reality quite a bit. So if you try and fail, make another effort and still another until you succeed, because you will. That's the thing too. We everybody we work with, we tell them that if you can see it and you keep moving, it has to happen. You know, we don't know exactly when, and a lot of it has to do with you and what you've been telling yourself. But through this philosophy of what we're learning here, the reality is anything and everything you can ever imagine, you can have. Right? I always remember, again, Bob would, you know, he would say, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. It's true. The only reason you don't hold it in your hand is because you've been conditioned through autosuggestion to think that you can't, but you can. And that's where this comes in. So your ability to use the principle of autosuggestion will depend very largely upon your capacity to concentrate upon a given desire until that desire becomes a burning obsession. That's the key. You know, you're not going to do any of this until you really get excited about something. You know, that's the biggest problem is that, you know, if you start reading this book, you might say, hey, this is really good. But if you don't have a burning desire, if you don't believe that it's possible for you personally, well, it's not. That doesn't mean it can't be, but it's because of how you're thinking that's going to stop you. So he goes on here. I just there's some parts here. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he says, do not wait for a definite plan through which you intend to exchange services or merchandise in return for the money you are visualizing. But begin at once to see yourself in possession of the money, demanding and expecting, meanwhile, that your subconscious mind will hand over the plan or plans you need. Be on the alert for these plans, and when they appear, put them into action immediately. When the plans appear, they will probably flash into your mind through the sixth sense in the form of an inspiration. This inspiration may be considered a direct telegram or message from infinite intelligence. Treat it with respect and act upon it as soon as you receive it. Failure to do this will be fatal to your success. Now, one of the things that along those lines, and you guys probably can think of it too, is the very first thought that comes to you is the right one. The second one is your subconscious mind telling you why it won't work. Right? You're going to find that successful people make quick decisions and they change their mind very, very slowly, right? Right. And that's, you're going to, if you look at anybody that's, some of the billionaires and things out there, whether you like them or you don't like them, they've succeeded because they follow their intuition and they just go. Idea comes to them, boom, they go. Does their subconscious mind say, hey, wait a minute, what are you doing? That won't work. Oh, remember we tried to, this isn't going to happen. That's not for people like us and so on and so on. Ignore it. Just go. And you're going to find that you will find yourself living the life that you want to live. Any more thoughts on that particular part?
I think that that what you just said is the struggle. Right? Because again, you have a thought, you think it's a great idea, it's amazing, and then if you sit for 2 seconds or 3 seconds, immediately your monkey mind is going to start, no, come on now, we can hang out, we can relax, come on, let's play a game real quick, and then we'll get going right after this. It's just like working out, how many people say, oh man, I'm gonna work out this year, January 1st, I'm gonna work out. They set the alarm for 5 a.m. and the alarm goes off the next morning at January 2nd at 5 a.m. and they go, okay, I got to get up. And their mind will say, but man, the sleep is so good. Hey, come on, the pillow, come on, let's
it's so nice.
Just hang here just a little bit longer, we'll get up. Or we'll work out later on in the afternoon. And I did a speech on Tuesday, and I think that the big misconception that all of us have is that we're the only one. We think, oh man, my mind runs crazy and I can't control it. Oh, it's just a million miles a minute and I'm all over the place. Everybody's mind is the same way. It wants to protect us, but we have to make sure that we just act. I heard a quote from probably one of the best basketball players of all times, Kobe. He was like, listen, man, you have to make a contract with yourself. And once you make that contract with yourself, that's it. He said, I would say I was going to work out. And as soon as the alarm goes off, my mind starts running. Oh man, come on, you can hang out with the family, you can hang with the kids, you can do this. And he said immediately you have to say, nope, I'm not, nope, I made a contract, I'm going to do it. And that's what happens to a lot of us, myself included, is that we have the greatest of plans and they come to us. And rather than getting up and acting upon it right in that moment, we're going to get to it in just a bit. And then life starts happening to you that keeps you from moving forward. But you have to take action. You have to move forward immediately, because again, the universe loves speed. And I'm telling you, the times that I immediately acted, oh my gosh, it's bananas how crazy stuff will happen for you.
And he actually says right in there too, like, don't sit around and wait for a definite plan. Right? You just got to go. Like, you've been given a path. That's again, we're talking about, Karin was talking about vibration, and the universe through that vibration gives you the answer, shows you the path. And what he's saying is you got to go. Don't think about it, because as soon as you start to think about it, like you were just saying, Eric, it's not going to happen. Like it's New Year's resolutions, right? I'm going to lose weight, and then they don't. They gain weight.
Yeah.
I'm going to work out. They last for a day or two. I'm guilty of that one myself. I'm always going to do it, but I never do it.
I think everybody should ask them. I think everybody should ask themselves, what is this satisfaction for me? Does this satisfy me? Do I have really the fun and the joy and the satisfaction? And if you do it, then you get the impulses. And if you act on the impulses, you always get results. This is really crazy. Yeah, and it's crazy what you said, Eric. The universe loves high speed. So yesterday I had an experience. It was so amazing. I paid a bill about 500 euros. Euros and dollars are almost the same. And I was really in a good vibration. And I tell you, it was not 10 minutes later, I had an income in my bank account, unexpected, of 500 euros. And I said, oh, thank you. This bill was for free.
Yeah, yeah,
That's how
yeah.
things work. It does work.
It is. It is. I'm telling you. I'm telling you,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
And
And it,
Karin, you just said something that is so powerful. Gratitude for the ability. Gratitude for the ability to be able to pay the bill. Because most people are like, oh my gosh, I gotta pay this bill again. Rather than saying, oh, thank you so much that I have the ability to pay the bill. So
Yeah.
the gratitude is, you givers are rewarded, or the universe rewards givers, and it's truly about abundance, y'all. Every seed on this planet produces more of what it is. So if you're negative, and understand, all of us, every single one of us is a seed from our fathers. So understand that every seed produces more of what it is. So if you're a negative person, you're producing more negativity. If you're a positive person, you're producing more positive. If if you
yeah,
want better results, plant and pour into that, and cultivate that so that you can produce more of the results that you want. And that's
yeah,
really what autosuggestion is about.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Even if you have $10 in your pocket, yeah, take
Mhm.
it and try it and yeah, have faith. Take this $10 in your pocket and say thank you for these $10. Thank you. Say this to you 100, 1,000 times a day, and look what happens.
Yep.
Because if you are grateful for these $10, the universe will give you more. If you are
Yeah.
grateful and you appreciate that $10, the universe said, okay, you were so happy with $10. Here's some more. Here's some more.
Mhm.
Here's some more.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's it.
it's that $10 analogy there. It's like if you're looking at the $10 saying, "Oh my God, I only have $10." Well, you're going to
Yeah,
be probably in a very short period of time saying, "Oh my God, I don't have any money."
Yeah.
Whereas
exactly.
if you
Yeah.
say, "Thank you for this, I'm grateful for this $10," well, another 10 is going to show up, right? And
Yeah,
that's the thing. And
exactly.
again, this
And
goes,
this is changing the perspective. Yeah.
and it goes
And
back to
this is
our suggestion.
also,
You can continually
yeah,
suggest to yourself that more money is coming. Like, I am so happy and
yeah,
grateful now that money comes to
exactly.
me in increasing amounts from multiple sources on a continuous basis. Obviously, I've said that many
Exactly.
times because I can just rattle it off, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I've seen that personally. I've seen that work in my life. Like, at a time when I first started, this is going back quite a few years now, but there was a recession. It was pretty hard hit recession because I was a mortgage broker and nobody was buying houses, obviously. And so the income wasn't coming in. And I remember like talking to Bob, and he taught me that affirmation, and I kept saying it over and over again. It was really quite fascinating. He said, again, we're talking years ago when we still got checks in the mail, that kind of thing. He said to expect to see checks in the mail. Like when you go to the mailbox, don't go there, worried about getting bills. Go there excited that money is coming. And I was shocked that, it wasn't that long after all that. He also led me into some things with, creating other sources of income and stuff. And it was really kind of surprising that I kept doing what Bob was saying. And within a few weeks, I went to the mailbox and I was surprised there was a check there. It wasn't a lot of money, a couple $100 maybe. But I was shocked. Like there was a couple $100 that came from basically nothing that I had ever done before. And so it works. And, it went on, and, now we get, PayPal and things like that. But, it went on where those checks got bigger and bigger all the time. And it was at a time when I could have been focusing on the economy was terrible. We're in a recession and nobody needs my services as a mortgage broker. But I didn't. I kept listening to Bob and him telling me to expect things to work out, and they do. And that affirmation, which is, again, it's autosuggestion, that constant repetition of that information going into our subconscious mind changes the vibration like Karin's been talking about. And then, of course, I took action, like Eric was talking about, and the checks show up. You know, and the beautiful thing about it is anybody can do this, right? I'm living proof, because, you know, if you really look at where I started at, I shouldn't be where I'm at. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I really, if I had carried on the same path as when I was like 20, I think I'd be dead. I don't think I'd be here alive at all. And yet I am here. And like I said, I'm going to live to be 150. So I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. Now, what I'm getting at is, if I can do this, so can anybody. You know, the key is will you do it? Now, there's a summary of instructions in here. Do you want to help us with that one, Eric? Or
Yeah. So, you know, the first one it talks
gotta
about
kind of wrap things up, so we might as well get
absolutely.
the instructions that Napoleon Hill has left us here.
Absolutely. So the first one is, you know, obviously going to a quiet spot, preferably bed at night. So really right before you go to right before you retire at night, just find that quiet spot and truly, truly, truly visualize what you want, who you want to be, what you want to be, do, and have. I mean, just truly visualize, not just visualize it though. You have to really, really believe it inside of you. Like, you have to feel the emotions. Yeah, I tell people all the time, and use all your senses. Smell what it smells like in the place that you're going to. Feel if you're like, for me, it's the Caribbean, so I feel the breeze coming, you know, not running through my hair anymore, but over the top of my head. Right? Feel the sunshine, just feel everything. And the beautiful thing about it is, with autosuggestion, I'm not just with autosuggestion, but our minds are such powerful and amazing things that we can actually feel everything without actually being in the place. And, you know, perfect example of that is, you know, like the other night I was asleep, and the dream was coming through, and it was right at the exact moment that the alarm went off in my dream. The alarm went off in real life. So we create what we want to create, y'all. So again, just, you know, take the time to really, really feel it. Second, repeat it both morning and nighttime, because our minds are in a state where we can truly, truly receive it right before we go to bed and first wake up in the mornings. And then the third thing is put it in a place where you see it all the time. Mine is the mirror, like, you know, the mirror in the bathroom. Hopefully we're all brushing our teeth right before we go to bed and as soon as we get up, right? So again, probably one of the last things we do when we go to bed at night is look in the mirror in the bathroom, and then wake up, same thing, or right beside your nightstand. I actually have cards right on the nightstand, and I keep the books on the nightstand as well. You know, affirmations, I have everything right on the nightstand for sure. I do have some stuff on the mirror, but the nightstand is the real place for me, because again, I'm listening to affirmations as I go to sleep at night. I'm listening to affirmations when I first wake up in the morning. Just getting that routine, just start to put yourself in that routine. And you know, without a shadow of a doubt, that you not only are you going to succeed, man, but you're going to exceed. And that is a beautiful thing. That's such a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. Fantastic stuff. So, Karen, got anything you want to add before we start to wrap it up? We're kind of a little bit over time here, but that's okay.
I just want to let everybody know how beautiful it is if you reprogram your subconscious mind. You you don't see it only in the manifestations in your world around you and in your reality, in your life, daily life experiences. What I impressed me so much, you feel it. You feel it when the subconscious mind makes a change.
Mm-hmm.
And this is so beautiful, because then you start really believing in this stuff. So first it's only theoretical. There is only theory. But when you do it and when you practice it and when you start to change your program, then you start to feel it. And this is such a wonderful place. Also, if the manifestation is not happened already, But if you feel it, and if you can be in your new self, in your new life, and you have this feeling of satisfaction and bliss and joy and fun, you don't want to come out of this auto-suggestion or visualization. Yeah, you don't need the manifestation. And this is the most beautiful part. If you reach this level, then the manifestation must come. This is law.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's
Good
what
stuff.
I advise you. Do it and stay with it and train your body to feel it. And the manifestation must come.
Yeah, that's the key too. It will come, and that's that goes back to faith.
Yeah.
And again, these steps are guiding us to whatever it is we want. Like, he does talk a lot about money because I'll imagine back in 1937, well, that was what they were talking about. But it applied to anything, right? It can apply to your relationships. It can apply to your weight, we were just talking about. It can be, health. Like, Karin was talking about health. Like, you get people like, I think that this is a kind of thing that, they should be making part of what's going on in hospitals. Because, majority of people that are there, whether they realize it or not, subconsciously put themselves there. It's not their fault. They had no idea what was actually happening. But if you can help people start to realize what's actually gone on and help them start to take responsibility going forward, when maybe they don't have to go back to the hospital, maybe they don't have to take medications, things like that. So I think, again, autosuggestion is a big one. I know I use it all the time. We all do. So before we wrap it up, if somebody wants to reach out to Karin, it's KarinGatrinig.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
And EricKeys.com, is it? Or
Eric J. Keys. Eric J. Keys.
I knew there was something. I'm LiamJenkins.com. If you want to reach out, if you want to get a copy of Think and Grow Rich, if you don't have one, we certainly can get you a download version of that. Now, before we go, Karin's got a new show next week, don't you, Karin? Did you want to talk about that before we go?
Oh, yes, I love it. Abundance tuning. Yes, we make abundance tuning every Tuesday. We're going to talk about one chapter, and I love it. Abundance tuning changed my life.
And so,
Absolutely.
that's when we're talking about abundance tuning, we're talking about vibration. And there's obviously I'm familiar with it because Karin and I are both doing that show. And I think that, those who are following us are going to see that, it fits well with Think and Grow Rich. But it does take it maybe to a little bit more a spiritual side, a little bit more, to get you a little bit more in touch with the universe that we're part of, and hence the title, Tuning, Abundance Tuning. Right? How about you, Mr. Keys? You got something you'd want to leave us with?
Again, just believe in yourself, believe that it can happen, because it can. You look at the three of us, we come from all different walks of life, from all three of us are in different countries. Yeah. And so if you just look at it, it's available to anybody in any scenario, any situation. This is who we are. We were created to create. And so, it's available, man. Just believe in yourself. If you need some help from any of the coaches, all of us are available to help you out in any way, shape, or form. Would love to help people, get to this level, because it's like Karin says, man, it is beautiful. It's a beautiful life. Going from living in lack, struggle, whatever else negative you can say to the other side, man. You definitely want to be on this side. I can tell you that for sure.
And it just keeps getting better. Right? Like, it's nice. It's nice to get up every day and realize today is better than it was yesterday, and tomorrow's going to be even better. And again, going back to autosuggestion, you do that by telling yourself that, like, today is going to be an amazing day. And if it's not, then change your thinking and make it a better day. That kind of thing, right? So. Okay, well, I guess we should wrap things up, and appreciate anybody who might be joining us. live here. This is recorded and will be available on the Elevate Network. You can go to the Elevate Network and check this out for free, the first few episodes. And want to encourage you also to maybe give some thought to joining us, because we've got some great things happening at the Elevate Network. Everybody here has programs up on the Elevate Network, and we're going to be adding more very soon. And we've got a great community that's being built. So again, I encourage you to come and check out the Elevate Network, and thank you too for joining me again. And I really do enjoy having you guys. This is one of my most favorite things to do, is talking to you guys. So,
Same here. Same here.
I am grateful.
Thank you, Lee.
I am
Thank
grateful
you.
for you too. Right. So that's
I
it.
am grateful for you too, for you, both of you.
I am so happy and grateful.
Yeah. Okay. Great seeing everybody, and thanks for joining us. And we'll see you again next week. Next week's topic is specialized knowledge. This is also I keep every week I keep saying this is a great chapter. They're all great chapters. So,
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
and it is. It's specialized knowledge is definitely another great chapter. So hopefully we'll see everybody back again next week, and take care.
Take care, y'all.
Talk
Have a good one.
soon.